We're live.
We are live.
Sidewalks for 20 minutes. That's how you keep me happy. Just avoid it.
Oh, you're the best. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Bethlehem Planning Commission. My name is Rob Malosky. I'm the chair of the meeting. Other members included my immediate left, Mr. Matt Malozzi, Ms. Joy Cohen, Mr. Eddie Burgos, and Mr. Rick Pongratz. We ask anyone here in attendance at this time to silence their cell phone. We will follow the agenda as listed. Each applicant will have an opportunity to come up and present their project, followed up by city staff providing an overview and the city's comments. Planning Commission members will then have an opportunity to direct questions related to the project to both the applicant and the city staff. Following Planning Commission discussion, interested parties in attendance will have an opportunity to comment on or ask questions relating to the project. We will adhere to a 5-minute time limit. We ask that anyone here in attendance that asks any questions or makes any comments, we have a sign-in sheet here up front. Put your name and address for the record and try to avoid repeating previously made comments or questions. After all interested parties have had an opportunity to speak, Planning Commission members will have a final opportunity to deliberate on the project. The review of the Planning Commission is based on provisions of the Saldo zoning ordinance and other municipal ordinances. Decisions will be based upon these ordinances, recommendation of the city staff, pertinent public comment, and public good. Our first agenda item is the approval of the November 13, 2025 minutes. Any discussion on the minutes as written? I'll accept the motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Planning Commission minutes from November 13th, 2025.
Motion made, Ms. Cohen. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second, Mr. Pongratz. Roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz,
Yes.
Mr. Burgos,
Abstain.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes, minutes approved. Our next agenda item is a minor land development plan located at 902 East McKenna Road. Will the applicant please introduce yourself? When you're ready, you may begin.
Good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
Ms. Cohen.
Yes, I need to recuse myself from this project.
Yes, Ms. Cohen is recusing herself for the record. Sorry about that, sir.
Not a problem. My name's Drew Nyman of Base Engineering, and I'm here to represent the applicant of St. Thomas United Church of Christ. And as you had said, that we had submitted to the city a minor land development plan to extend their parking lot in the southern portion of their existing lot of their property. And it consisted of adding 29 spaces, roughly 9,500 square foot of new impervious coverage. Basically, there's no new utilities proposed or anything like that. The only thing is that we added one light pole to shine over the new part of the property of the parking lot, and we added three landscape trees and some shrubbery for landscaping purposes. But
So the newer portion is on the screen outlined in like a darker gray. Is that correct?
yep, that's correct. And the 3 green areas are new landscape areas.
Right. And where's the location of the new light pole?
It is in
Mr.
the island,
Pfeiffer.
the southernmost island. It's in the center,
Right there. On
Yep.
the,
right there in the center.
Mr. Pfeiffer, anything on the addition of the new parking spaces at 902 East McKenna?
The only comment is in your packets is a letter from the Bureau of Engineering outlining the reasons why the request was made and their support of the request, and specifically that there is no adjacent property on East Makeda Road that has existing sidewalks. If sidewalks were to be installed, they would only serve this portion of the property and would provide no continuity or pedestrian support. The improvements would be excessive in cost to do the full frontage. I believe it's almost 300 feet, and there would not be a benefit or a greater good to the public.
So you're looking for the deferral. Do you understand that if the city at any point down the road deems that sidewalks to be necessary, that they'll be in touch and we'll have to do them then with the deferral? Is that,
Yes.
you're all right with that?
Yep.
Anything else, Mr. Pfeiffer?
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Yandam, anything to add from engineer? No. Anyone from the planning commission have any questions pertaining to the additional increased size of the parking lot at 902 East Makeda or the sidewalk and curbing deferral? Mr. Malozzi?
Chairman,
Yes.
out of curiosity, just because it's referenced in the city's letter, are there any plans now to widen Makeda Road to its full cartway width of 34 feet? Nothing?
Nothing in the near future.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anyone here in attendance have any question, comments as it relates to this project? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time. What a minute. Mr. Pongratz, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I approve.
You're approving the minor land development plan at 902 East Makeda along with the request for the sidewalk and curbing deferral, correct?
Correct.
Just to be clear, we're not actually voting on the minor subdivision, it's the
Yeah.
deferrals.
So
Only the deferral.
yeah, minor land developments are internally reviewed and
Understood.
approved, and that has been done, but for the deferral of,
For the
Sure,
record, Mr. Pongratz, why don't you add,
For the deferral, yes.
go ahead.
The proof for the deferral, right?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, so the motion is by Mr. Pongratz for the sidewalk and curbing deferral. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Burgos. Roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz,
Yes.
Mr. Burgos, Ms. Cohen.
Recuse.
Oh, I'm sorry, you recused. Apologies. Mr. Malozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes, thank you for coming in. Best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Our next agenda item is the land development plan at 330 East 4th Street. Will the applicant come forward? We'll give you a minute or so. And once you're ready, introduce yourself. You may begin.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Renko from Black Forest Engineering. I'm here with the applicant, Mr. Nicholas Youssef. Just a quick summary of our project. We're located in the limited commercial zoning district. We're on the southwest corner there of 4th Street and Polk Street. That corner parcel's a little over 7,000 square feet. It currently has it was a residential structure along 4th Street, and then there's an older garage structure that abuts the alley there. And then there's a few, I think maybe one or two miscellaneous smaller sheds or structures in the middle of the lot. The applicant acquired the property and with the hopes of restoring the existing dwelling. They had a structural engineer doing a full inspection of the building, and they determined that the structural components, if it was maybe the brick or the wood, it was just not salvageable. So that led us down the path of the site is in the historic district, so we had to go before the historic committee and seek approval to do demolition in the historic district. We were able to get that, and then we put together a land development plan. We needed some zoning relief. It's noted in the review letter what we needed. It was lot area, lot width, 1 or 2 setbacks. The zoning board was kind enough to grant us the variances we needed. And what we have before you today is we're planning to basically remove that building, raise that structure, rebuild it almost in place. We're actually going to slide it a little bit further off East 4th Street, because right now the sight distance at that corner is very bad. You sort of can't see through the building. So we've actually moved the building back a little bit to provide the required sight distance. What the applicant's proposing to do is have a downstairs commercial, sort of like retail or something, that would be at street level. And then there'd be two unit apartments on the second and the third floor. And then with that, we're providing six off-street parking spaces, a trash area, required landscaping and lighting, and that's the overview.
Mr. Pfeiffer, can you go back to the elevations, please?
So the what I guess we're looking at these were the architectural elevations. I think this is I don't know if these aren't 100% yet.
100%.
Yeah. So basically the way that, and you folks probably know this, but if we were able to get an approval tonight from you, we're actually going to have to go back for a second round of approvals with the historic committee. They do two rounds. You need one approval to do a demolition, and then you need a second approval of what you're actually going to build. So they're going to look at
The aesthetics, the facade,
the windows.
materials used, all
Exactly.
those things.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Mr. Pfeiffer, anything, thank you, Mr. Renko. Anything from the November 5th letter from the city that needs to be pointed out?
Certainly, a few highlights. Miscellaneous engineering just calls out for standard driveway details to be added to the plan set. The city forester is referencing the new saldo, and that requires a variety of at least 3 different species for buffer strips, and that 2 street trees, she is amenable to not having them planted along the side street, and that a payment would be made in lieu of. Under the fire department, they have their typical comments. The fire marshal talks about making sure that the access road is there to accommodate apparatus weighing 84,000 pounds, and that there's no restrictions with overhead wires. The zoning officer pointed out that what Mr. Renko already pointed out, that dimensional variances were granted. However, also as important, a special exception was granted for the reduction of off-street parking, and referencing that the applicant doesn't yet know who the tenant's going to be for that first floor commercial space. They approved it as a retail space with up to 2 parking spaces dedicated to that retail use, and that if that were to change either the use or the number of required off-street parking, the applicant would be required to go back to the zoning hearing board and have that as an additional hearing. The general comments, we just talk about what Mr. Renko already hit on. The COA was issued for demolition. They will have to go back for building design review. And the landscaping plan did not include the foundation plantings, whereas these are requirement of the saldo. And our typical comment of vegetative ground cover and the minimization of hardscape. The EAC and the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission did also provide letters. Lehigh Valley Planning Commission kept it very simple, that the proposal aligns with the regional plan to increase housing density in urban areas. The EAC indicated some of their typical comments of encouraging energy saving strategies to include passive solar, sustainable building materials, advanced lighting, high efficiency HVAC. They indicated that there is an evaluation that does not cost anything for the feasibility of doing solar energy. And lastly, they call out the climate action plan and encourage the use of level 2 EV charging stations in the parking lot.
Speaking of which, can you pull that up, just to see where the parking?
Oh, you
Mr.
want
Renko, you said 6 parking spots, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Can we point that out?
So another thing I guess worth mentioning, if we're going to talk about the parking, there is a pretty good topographic change along Polk Street. So from the back of the alley, I'm calling it the alley, but Morton Street, to where the the back of the house is, there's about a 10-foot grade change. So we did look at different layouts for parking to try to make it where we would only have one driveway or potentially a one-way, where it would be one way in from Morton and one way out. But the grade was just too steep across that yard. So what we have is we basically have essentially we'll call it two small parking lots. One that has 5 and the dumpster, and then one adjacent to the building that has 2 and plus a handicap spot.
So in essence, you're having 7
Oh, wait.
and 2 and a handicap and 5 on the other one,
Yeah.
8 in total.
Yeah, we have 8 in total.
Mr. Piper, city staff was fine with
apologize.
the way this parking layout was laid out. I mean,
I believe the engineer did the best. they
Mr.
could
Yannon,
based
if
on
you
the
want to add
constraints.
anything with the slope back there is why,
That's why we have two driveway in such a short distance in between because of the slope of the road in that area. Which is where the two parking lot and they have.
all right, so it's noted then that you have 8 spots. correct?
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes.
getting old. My eyes are bad.
That's all right,
So
Mr. Renko.
and
We
the,
all
the
are.
plan is half size here. It's 6 spaces that were required for the residential.
Correct.
The two that as it was noted in the zoning
Correct.
comments that the 2 spaces right now, there's 2 extra spaces are just allocated for this potential commercial
Commercial
space. And if
component.
we end up needing more than that 2, then we'd have to go back to the zone.
So you're fine with the direction the city administration mentioned about the parking, if you have to do that.
Yes.
Anything else from Mr. Pfeiffer's comments? Everything on that memo dated November 5th, you're in compliance with, you're fine.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Anything else, Mr. Pfeiffer? Nothing?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Any questions from the planning commission at this time in reference to 330 East 4th? Mr. Pongratz.
How will the residence entrance be the same as the commercial entrance, or are there two different sides, or how does that?
There's 2 different sides. So the residents go in from the parking lot side, and so the parking lot side of the building, which is the back, essentially the back side.
Okay.
It would appear from that parking lot like it's a 2-story building. When you're down on 4th Street, it looks like a 3-story building.
Okay.
Because like I said, the grade changes.
Right.
The commercial space is only accessible from the 4th Street.
So there's no disturbance to the residential units up there if the commercial's open and it's early or late or whatever.
Yep,
Okay.
they're completely separated.
Separate entrance.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else questions for Mr. Renko?
Question?
Mr. Malozzi, yes, sir.
Just looking over the decision of the zoning hearing board, and maybe I missed this with the parking, but will off-street parking spaces be leased to accommodate the retail portion?
I believe that we talked about that if more were needed than the 2, that was an option that we would have, or the owner would have the ability to explore potentially leasing some. But right now it's I believe the relief that was granted was based on, we've got 6 for the residential and then 2 for the commercial.
So I'm not questioning the zoning hearing board's decision, but if the parking issue comes over to the Saldo side of things, then, because it looks like from the zoning hearing board's decision, the motion is approved subject to 2 conditions. One, that the applicant secures off-site, off-street parking in a quantity necessary to accommodate the 1,800 square feet of retail on the lower level, equaling 6 additional off-street parking slots.
Mr. Pfeiffer, you want to add anything with that? Because it is written that way in the zoning's decision. It seems that there's a little bit of confusion here, Mr. Renko and his applicant, just so we can clarify.
Yes, it's my understanding that the 6 space, well, let's step back. Multifamily dwellings require 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit. That's 4 dwellings, 6 spaces. Those have to be earmarked for the tenants. The 2 additional spaces would be available for the commercial use. Because this property is located in the light commercial district and it is on a arterial, they get the benefit of a special exception or to ask for a special exception to reduce off-street parking. So the zoning hearing board went ahead and gave them the opportunity to just have 2 for the commercial space because of those factors. They put the caveat on that if it's a different use than retail, or we find that the retail is intensive enough that requires more than 2, then the applicant has to seek either adjacent or nearby parking for lease purposes to the satisfaction of the zoning officer, or they have to go back to the zoning hearing.
So the zoning board did grant them an exception.
That
with
is correct.
Clear on that?
Yes.
And obviously, if it does become probably your best option is going to have to
Lease,
lease. Yeah. So anyone else? Mr. Pongratz.
Mr. Piper, can you just throw up the street view of Polk Street? I just want to see Polk and Fourth. That's a pretty narrow street, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Is it pretty?
It's a one-way.
It's a one-way, but oh, okay. I'm just thinking of when you're adding more retail, depending on what the retail goes in there, the parking situation that we're talking about, how that's going to affect the everyday travel. So, okay, it's not as narrow as I thought. Okay. Okay. That's all. I'm good. Thank you.
And which show the existing building that's there now, Mr. Piper, that one with the ladder or the one that just to make sure everyone is aware. Anyone else? Anyone here in attendance tonight have any questions or comments as it pertains to the land development plan at 330 East 4th Street? Well, certainly, obviously, it's an improvement to and adding a newer residential component, and I know the LVPC has commented on that, more or less supporting this, and I think it's a good infill project. I'm anxious to see what retail. Do you have any leads on that as of now, or is that
Not
just
yet.
nothing
No,
yet? And then obviously, if that does something that we'd have to approach with the parking, then you're aware. So
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Chairman Malosky.
Mr. Malozzi, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the land development plan for 330 East 4th Street contingent upon the applicant meeting the conditions outlined in the city's November 5th, 2025 comment letter.
Motion made, Mr. Malozzi. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Burgos. Roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz,
Yes.
Mr. Burgos,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes, thank you very much for coming to Mr. Renko. Best of luck.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes, you too. Our next agenda item, land development plan at 4652 West Broad, formerly the Wells Fargo Bank. Will the applicant step forward? We'll give you a minute or so to get yourself squared away. And when you're ready, you can begin.
Right. For some reason, yes, that's what I was. So
Mr. Scamilio, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
If you're ready, you may begin.
We are. Victor Scamilio here on behalf of the applicant. We're here with our project engineer, Kevin Horvath, and our architects and design professionals here to describe what the intention is for 4652 West Broad Street, otherwise known as the Wells Fargo building. And I think that there were a full set of plans that were submitted.
Vic, are you looking for this?
Yeah, the architectural renderings. Yep. Okay. And I have a representative from the applicant here to give an overview of what he's intending to do with this project.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. My name is Plamen Ivazov. I'm the owner of Monaxi Builders, and so what we are presenting tonight, it's a previous well-known as the Wells Fargo building, and we're looking at a 7-story building look like 6 story in the front, but actually 7 because the building is so tall. And we're looking to put a podium above that with an additional five floors, so it'll be a total of 61 apartment units and some retail and possible restaurant space in there as well.
And as you can see from the rendering, the intent is to keep the southern side of the building, the current front of the Wells Fargo building, in its current condition. Obviously, without the lighted lettering for Wells Fargo, and adjusting where their ATM is there now to be that facade remaining the same.
Yes, we are planning to keep the whole building intact just the way it is with all the current features in the building.
Sure, and maybe it's probably good to turn over to the architects to kind of go through the rendering so that everybody can have an understanding of what it's going to look like.
Thank you, Mr. Scamilio.
Certainly. So,
Your name, I'm sorry.
Todd Chambers with MKS.
Thank you,
Architects.
Mr. Chambers.
Yes. Yeah. So, obviously, given the, I don't want to call it historic. I think there is maybe some historic designation for the property. We're not in the Harb, but Rocco's intent here was to preserve the Wells Fargo building in its existing state, but then develop a residential property above it and around it. So architecturally, we're contrasting the more the older architecture of the Wells Fargo building with a newer intervention above it. We're holding the facades both on the southern and western edges back from the plane of the facades of the Wells Fargo building in order to help with that distinction. And then, of course, the apartments above the Wells Fargo building, that building is clad in metal panels with a significant amount of glass to help aid in that contrast between the two structures. There is a small structure that's planned between the Wells Fargo building and the new Boyd Apartments along Broad Street. You can see there that Craig's highlighting with the mouse. That is envisioned to be a restaurant space. And then the kind of large open volume of the existing Wells Fargo building would be, for the most part, preserved for a tenant
And
of
just
a commercial or retail nature.
Mr. Chambers, when we're looking at this rendering that's on the screen now, to highlight what you said before, that building on top, the structure on top will be recessed
Yes.
from the front footprint of the Wells Fargo building.
Correct. Yeah. I think we have approximately I'd say 12 to 15 foot setback between the front plane of Wells Fargo and the front or the southern facade of the upper apartment buildings. And then, in order to maximize the use of the site, we're talking about a more subtle reveal or relief between the two along Gooder Street, probably 4 feet.
Go to the next.
Yeah, we've provided a bunch of views, kind of from the streetscape around the building. This one's elevated a little bit. There is a structure kind of directly across the street. So in order to get the whole elevation along Gooder Street, we had to elevate the viewpoint a little bit here. I think the next slide shows what would be the view from the corner with the parking deck, and to the left is the Hyatt Hotel abstracted in this view. This, you can see that the mass of the Boyd Apartments beyond this project. So height-wise, we're very much in keeping with the Boyd. Yeah.
Any more?
I don't want to put
Where are
another
we
point.
here in the
No.
rendering?
You mentioned, Mr. Chambers, you mentioned a view right there from the parking deck.
Yes.
Mr. Scamilio, while we're on that subject, you want to talk a little bit about parking?
Sure, I would leave that. I know my clients had discussions with the city, and I'd leave that to the engineer to talk about how parking will be addressed in this project.
I don't want to mess up your order here. So whenever, as long as you address it, yes.
Yeah, I think we're at the end of
We're
the
at the end
rendering.
of the architectural.
So-
renderings, yes.
With that, any other, I don't have any other questions of Mr. Chambers. He's given a nice overview of what the project's going to look like from the community. I would then have Mr. Horvath talk about the details of the construction.
Thank you. Evening, Mr. Horvath. How are you?
What, you can use that microphone.
I'll poke you if I need you.
Very good.
Give me your name, sir, for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Kevin Horvath with Keystone Consulting Engineers. I'm the site design engineer for the project. If you want me to jump right in, I referred to parking requirements. The central business zoning district, as you're probably aware, does not have a parking requirement. The applicant has been in touch with the parking authority regarding availability of spaces within the adjacent parking garage as well as the new parking garage on Walnut Street. So that would be the intent, would be that the future occupants and visitors to the building would use the existing parking infrastructure within the city.
Mr. Horvath, we received a review letter from the city. Do you want to go through comments to those, that letter we received?
Sure. From a engineering standpoint, I think we're pretty clean. The engineering bureau referred to it would be amenable to recommending approval contingent upon a few items being addressed. Forestry items, some additional street tree plantings, recreation fee, nothing that we would object to, nothing that we feel would materially change the plan or impact the feasibility of the project. One comment I would like to discuss would be item 2 on page 2 under general. It refers to site landscaping requirements of 134908F2 that requires a minimum of 10% of the area represented by approved plantings. And this has always been kind of a gray area in my mind. 10% of what area?
about this?
The building area, the
How about-
parking
how
area,
about
the
this?
site area?
You do not need to discuss that because the new saldo does not require those plantings. You're
All
good.
right, that was not
If-
conveyed in the message. I kind of got off track, but okay.
If you can get Mr. Chambers to pronounce Getter Street correctly, we can waive this.
I didn't want to point that out, Counselor. I did not want to point that out, Mr. Kenner. Yes, not Cooner.
Not a problem. Well, then I would
Cannot hear it, but sorry. Yes.
I would be willing to address any comments or questions that the
So, Mr. Piper, to confirm what Attorney Gensler said, that is correct. The new saldo, which was a few months ago,
Correct.
voted on, implemented, we're clear of that component.
Yeah, so Old Saldo, the applicant, this is an interesting case from many perspectives, but one in that they submitted their application prior to the enactment of the current saldo. So they had the benefit of using both Old Saldo and New Saldo for their project. The 10% requirement was carried over from Old Saldo to New Saldo, but it includes now an exception for the central business, or the CB, Central Business District. So therefore, it does not apply here. They do not need a waiver.
Thank you.
The new saldo cannot act to the adversity of the applicant, but he can get the benefit of a change that's in his favor.
Understood. We're all on the same page. Mr. Pfeiffer, continue with any other comments pertaining to the December 4th memo, please.
Certainly. So just to go back and highlight a few items, the Engineering Bureau is amenable to the request for the longer than standard depressed curb along West Raspberry Street. The street trees cannot be planted on West Broad Street because of underground utilities and site triangle issues and sight line issues. So the applicant would simply pay a payment in lieu of planting those trees. We did have a question, and this would be for Mr. Chambers. Is the infill addition between the Wells Fargo building and the Boyd building to be 3 occupied floors or a 2-story volume with a second floor above that?
Yeah, it's a 2-story. It's 2 stories of occupied space.
Okay, thank you. And really the only, just for everybody's benefit, the only change that would have had would be Rocky would have had to pay a higher recreation fee, so. We're going to skip over all the Saldo comments because I think we've covered that. Lanta did provide comments, and they recommend an upgrading to the crosswalk and curb ramp with a new detectable warning surface. This is at the intersection that we're looking at right now on the screen, so that that becomes a fully compliant right-of-way accessible guideline crosswalk. And it is, and Mr. Chambers already covered some of the other things. It's always nice that when we provide review letters, the architect jumps on them and actually addresses all the requests that we have and actually meets the requests that we have. So in this case, we've asked that they reconsider the cladding of the new addition, particularly over top of Wells Fargo. They've complied with that. We asked that they provide a little bit greater setback. They've complied with that. And the only other comment that we had, and this is also going to be referenced in the EAC letter, is that we're looking for them to specify a bird-friendly glass, since there's a large amount of glass on this building, and that we're trying to reduce the amount of bird deaths.
I am glad you had brought that up. Mr. Scamilio is correct in saying that everything that Mr. Pfeiffer pointed out from that memo, your applicant, your client is in compliance with, correct? So number 6 on the memo does talk about a topic that has been brought up a lot in newer projects. And I know we've been advocating for it, and seeing that this new construction contains a large number of windows, maybe Mr. Horvath, you want to go a little bit more detail about what your plan is when it comes to utilizing the bird safe glass. Have you decided on? There's many different companies out there that can provide this. Is that something that we have a strong commitment by the applicant to utilize?
Be glad to answer, but I'd prefer to defer
Yeah,
to
I
the
think that's for
architect.
me. So we do see this request often, and we evaluate the projects accordingly. We're still very early on in this process, and would need to evaluate cost-effective options to address this issue. The biggest concern is when birds can see through a structure. So basically on the corner where we have this corner glass, right, where a bird could see daylight on the other side, that's where you get the most impacts, not when you have an apartment unit with a shade behind the windows potentially. But there are lots of options, from fritted glass to vinyl films. I don't think we want to explore tinting, but we would definitely evaluate those options when the time comes to put together the construction package for this.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't want to sound repetitive or redundant, but that is something that, with a lot, especially downtown, a lot of the newer projects, and one like this with so many windows, we're trying to advocate for. And we are fortunate, Mr. Chambers. I'm glad this topic came up. We have a gentleman in attendance this evening, Dr. Dan Clem. Dr. Clem is a professor at Muhlenberg. And
Of the birds.
Dr. Clem, I don't want to step on your toes, but I believe in the Lehigh Valley, there is only one building that has it at this time, and that is a building over on Muhlenberg's campus. I may be wrong, there may be more, but I'm pretty certain it's the only one. So I'm gonna allow Dr. Clem the microphone at this time. If there's anything that you have questions for pertaining to this, or maybe Dr. Clem can possibly give a little bit more info or detail on which direction that might be the best affordable option for you. Dr. Clem, do you mind?
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk briefly, really, about this issue. I would take a little exception from our architect that the see-through effects are really a rather modest mortality factor for birds. It's the reflective glass. Most windows, in even a perfectly clear pane of glass, acts like a mirror on the outside when it covers a darkened internal space. So both clear, see-through, as well as reflective effects are lethal to birds. It's just that the reflective effects is just more abundant. The options for deterrence are growing. One mention in the document from, I guess, the architectural firm is to consider this Ornolux glass from Arnold Glass in Germany. I've tested that in research grants, and most circumstances, it's not effective, and even more so, it's a bigger killer than conventional glass. So I couldn't be more supportive. There's a growing number of municipalities across the country that are instituting their own laws, zoning and ordinances for this issue. To give you some feel for the dynamics of this, 3.5 million birds die every day throughout the year in the United States of America from flying into windows. The new construction and remodeling, this being a new construction project, I guess I would encourage, if it was at all possible, to use the bird-safe glass that's available from a small but growing number of manufacturers. Frit works. Many glass manufacturers produce the fritted patterns on glass. It's also important to know that the outside surface, what architects call surface number one, needs to be treated, not in the see-through effect. When you see see-through effect, like in this building at one portion, you can afford to have the patterns that deter bird strikes on the inside, but if it's a reflective effect, it has to be on the outer number one surface. Otherwise, the birds won't see it. It hides it, right? There was mention here about films. There's a group in Toronto, Feather Friendly. There's a group in the United States called Kaleidoscape. They produce external films. The elephant in the room with films is the 3M company from Minneapolis, but they refuse, for whatever reason, to produce bird-safe glass, but they sell their film product to other manufacturers like Feather Friendly and others, and they modify it to the customer's design. Feather Friendly recently outfitted the McCormick Place, a convention center in Chicago that was a notorious bird killer, sometimes 200 or 300 a day. And when they applied this film to it, it knocked it down to nothing. The only part of the building now that's killing birds is a see-through or a reflective area where it's a walkway that wasn't treated. The trouble with the films is that this is more of a product for retrofitting existing buildings. You can certainly put it on new construction, but the downside of that is that if you think about it, it'll weather over time and it needs to be replaced. Now, having said that, the film companies that sell this stuff, they want a lifetime of 5 to 7 years. That's what they advocate for guaranteeing. But this film of the 5 to 7 year level has been on the Toronto Zoo for well over 15 years, and it's still going strong. So the durability is there. The bit about the ultraviolet signals, which I always wrote about, is the elegant solution. Birds don't see it, we do. We don't see it, birds do. But all of the current products that are available, whether it's retrofitting films or whether it's the bird-safe glass, and by the way, Walker Glass Company in Montreal has a whole brand for this bird-safe product called AV Protect. And they have a lot of educational material to point this out. My point is, though, the UV products only reduce the risk of a strike by about, at the most, 70%. But if you're going to use visual signals on your glass, you can get to 95 to 100% reduction. I can't think of anything else that'd be more germane for me to share with you.
Appreciate it, Dr. Clem. Mr. Scamilio, Mr. Chambers, for sense of time and moving along. You have no problem. If you do have any questions, you can exchange contact information. Again, Dr. Clem is someone that is very knowledgeable in this, and again, I commend you for looking into this and hopefully implementing it.
Yeah, we're committed to working with the city on the resolution for this, and I'll be reaching out.
Great. And I want to thank Dr. Clem for coming this evening as well.
Again, if it wouldn't put anybody to sleep or bore them, I have some research papers that I'd be willing to share with the architect.
I'd rather just hear from you. I'd rather just talk it out with you, but
We hope that you're going to be committed to work with us as well.
Yes.
For example, one of the papers documents the effectiveness of Ornolux, for example. And the other one is a review article on the whole topic that I just published. So not only you, but other architects or other colleagues, I think would benefit.
Appreciate it.
Just-
Yes.
Discussion has to be between.
Yes, we'll do that. Absolutely. And that's why I mentioned that. So thank you, Dr. Clem.
So
Look,
just to,
yes.
to close out that tapping, we're committed to work with. I hope the doctor, he will be committed to work with us as well. And hopefully this one will be the second building in the Lehigh Valley to have, Burt Glass.
Especially in an environment, in an area in downtown where, this is already occurring. So I'm glad that you're strongly considering it and definitely continue the dialogue. Anything else, Mr. Pfeiffer, from the memo?
If I can just highlight the
Yes.
comments from the LVPC and the EAC. LVPC, interestingly enough, calls out in their very first paragraph about the lack of parking for the site. The applicant has already addressed this with some comments. That comment, incidentally, is going to become a future comment on all of your review letters, as it's been asked by the administration that whenever a project is in the CB district and nearby a parking garage, that the applicant is encouraged to talk to the Bethlehem Parking Authority to assist with mitigating any parking issues. So I'm glad they brought that up. They talk about sustainability, referencing the regional plan. They cite that this is a very appropriate place for this type of development because it's already got existing infrastructure, including sewer, transportation, continuity to existing development. The increased residential density and mixed use is also part of the regional plan. They indicate about a bicycle rack, which I believe EAC also commented on. So I'll touch on that with their letter. And lastly, they talk about housing. Of course, this project would increase our housing, and that would address several other issues, including the housing shortage, not only in the city, but in Lehigh Valley. And I thought it interesting that they included a stat that says Bethlehem is experiencing a shortage of 1,168 housing units today, and an additional 5,406 units will be needed by the year 2050. That's the LVPC letter. The EAC letter, I'm going to skip over their typical comments. They do reference the CPACE program and encourage the developer to consider this program for financing of renewable energy, energy efficiency, water conservation, indoor air quality, and other types of improvements, and that alleviates the cost directly to the developer. They also talk about the climate action plan and bicycle parking. Incidentally, we didn't really look at the architectural floor plans, but bicycle parking is accommodated inside the building. They're suggesting that that would only accommodate the residents. I would concur with that there should be an opportunity somewhere on the site to allow for a bike rack of some sort so that people that are coming to use the commercial spaces or visit those that live in this place would have a place to park their bicycles safely. If that area doesn't accommodate, they can certainly work with our Public Works Department to see if there's an appropriate location within the right of way. The letter also talks about bird friendly and also references the gentleman that just spoke, and also cites his publication. So there's quick links there. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, it is there. Their last comment was to encourage the developer to consider Revolution Recovery in Allentown or other similar type companies that do recycle construction waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeiffer. Any commitment or any leads on the Wells Fargo space? You had mentioned that. Mr. Chambers mentioned that there would be a tenant in there. Is there any?
We don't have a signed commitment yet. We've been talking to a lot of different parties, either in the Lehigh Valley or outside Lehigh Valley. Some of the things that we're looking, I hope we're going to find it. One that we talked earlier was Experience Center. Where I came from, I was sitting on Downtown Bethlehem Association Board. I was in the board for 2 years, and a lot of the comments we get back from the people visiting the city, there was not much to do in downtown, or there was nothing for kids. So that's where that idea came.
Like similar to like Crayola?
Similar
kind
like a Crayola, yes. Something to be kid friendly. I hope we can find something like that. But right now we're too early, so we don't have any commitment yet.
Thank you. Any questions from the planning commission as it pertains to the project at West Broad? Ms. Cohen?
Could the architect, Mr. Chambers, can you talk about the materials on the building, please? In my view, the renderings on paper differ slightly than what we're seeing on the screen in terms of color.
That's a common issue that we have. So if we're looking at the perspective views, the darker areas of the apartments above are metal panel with a dimension to it. So other projects that have similar facade treatment in the city are the Pinnacle to the, I guess it's north of Moravian's campus. There's a multifamily building that has a dimensional metal panel for the cladding. This material is also common, I think, on some of Lehigh's buildings. And it's similar to the material that we're using on the Creative Factory for Arts Quest on the south side. So it's got a ribbed effect. And then some of the lighter areas would contrast that and be a smoother metal panel that kind of emulate the color tones of the masonry in the Wells Fargo building. And then we're looking at some darker architectural metals for the window frames and some details that would emulate the bronze storefront in the existing Wells Fargo building.
So when you just described it, the metal panels around the main part of the apartment that are fluted, you described those as darker and the lighter ones to match the stone, which is more in keeping with our printed copies, but the picture on the screen is really showing the majority of it being the lighter to match the stone. And then the big panels is more of a bone colored.
Yeah, the bone color, the lighter colored panels are what I'm saying would match or be close in tone to the masonry on the Wells Fargo building.
And the fluted ones to be darker brown.
They're a painted metal, correct, fluted.
I actually like the one on the screen better. I don't know how anyone else feels, but it just seems like a lighter, fresher design.
Yeah,
in my
I mean,
opinion.
again, we're very early on, and this is conceptual. We haven't completely set all those materials yet. This is a depiction of the design intent, and we did look at a lot of different alternative materials for the apartment tower, finally settling on metal because of the way that it works with the preservation briefs.
Thank you.
If I can comment that out as well. So the building next to the Boyd and the Wells Fargo Bank, that will be brick. And the site in Garrett Street, that will be brick as well. So the same height.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Rocco.
The reason we designed it this way, we do not want to compete against the bank. We want the bank to be noticeable and to pop out. It's a gorgeous building, so I don't want to put something similar to compete against that. We want to merge the old and new somehow together. So we're open to any ideas if you guys have. So
Thank you. I have some more technical questions.
Yes, Ms. Cohen.
Can you identify where the bike racks are on the inside of the building?
So we in multifamily projects, we typically do a bike storage room.
Okay.
That would be on the northern end of the building. Right where Craig's highlighting with his cursor,
Okay.
adjacent to the tenant, the apartment entrance and the kind of loading area.
Okay. And then is that also where the trash location is?
Yes.
Also Raspberry?
yes.
Yes.
Is that, I assume that's indoors and then would
Indoors,
be
yes.
picked up by the,
Yes,
Box.
that will be indoors the same way that we have at Boyd.
And you have the bike racks similar
Yes.
as Boyd as well.
On the drawings is not showing perfectly, but there's still the whole basement floor where the police department is right now, as their training facility. So we don't know what's gonna happen to the police department, if they're gonna come back after the building is down, or they're gonna, find a different place. But there's still a whole floor there, which is 9 feet high. So if they don't come back, that will be majority using for bicycle racks and all that stuff. Surprisingly enough, like I was saying before, we see at Boyd, the bicycle room, it's heavily used. You know, I was surprised, but it's and I was pleasantly surprised actually to see that. So we'll definitely gonna implement the same type of setup in this building.
Thank you. And my last question is about the fire. There was no fire comment from the city. On this site, there's no requirement obviously for turnarounds because there's no.
I don't believe there is a requirement for turnarounds because we're in two major roads.
Right.
So-
Is the architect is working with will be working with the fire department in terms of the high-rise building
Yes.
and the
Yep.
the,
Absolutely.
access for the fire apparatus?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
And if I mention the two buildings, they will be separate with a podium construction. So the apartments above, they will be sitting in their kind of own structure. So they will be separated if there any fire between the two. I hope that never happen, but you never know. So actually the building itself can carry most of the weight, but we purposely designed it that way to put a podium construction. If there is ever a fire, if let's say if the fire department had dumped a bunch of water in there, we don't know if that bank will hold that weight. So that's why we say we'll put a whole new structure to keep the structure above separate, if in case there's ever a fire.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. And as a retired architect, she is always a very helpful when it comes to materials being used in a facade. And I assume Mr. Pfeiffer, how Rocky explained it, the fact that Wells Fargo building is a historic building. It's not the historic district, but it is a historic building that the materials that they're using in terms of the metal and whatnot provide a little bit more, doesn't take away from the appearance of and that was also discussed with the city staff as well.
That is correct. Yep.
Anyone else? Questions? Mr. Malozzi, yes.
Chairman. On the podium comment, so the entire Wells Fargo building remains, is that correct?
Yes.
This is just going to basically be like on stilts, like some
Yep.
columns through there? Okay.
So the whole new building will be sitting on tilts. Yeah.
Okay. And then as it pertains to the comment letter, just to clarify for any action that's taken by the commission this evening, there's a comment back to the bird safe glass discussion. So the comment 6 is the architect should specify bird friendly glass. Is that a requirement based on all the discussions that we were talking about? What's our
In my
understanding?
understanding, it's not a requirement, but we are committing to working. If you're willing to work with us as well, I did have a numerous conversation with glass companies. The cost is significant, about 30-40% cost extra. But I'm committed. We'll be able to find on a better prices and deliver that product.
But it is just something that's aspirational, right?
It's a should statement, not a shall
All
statement.
right. It's not a shall, but obviously we've had discussion here tonight and moving forward. Yes, Dr. Clem.
As we use more and more bird safe glass, the price is going to go down, just like solar panels did, right? But I'd like to point out that even if you commit to doing it price, which is $35 a square foot, but then conventional glass, it's less than 1% of the overall building. And if you take into account that overrun cost for any building is also price is less than that.
Anyone else here in attendance have any questions or comments as it related to this project? Mr. Malozzi.
Back to the comment letter, the Lanta comments. So those were recommendations by Lanta. Are these are curb ramps, detectable warning services? Are those, be my understanding that those are shalls, or that's something that the applicant would comply with? This is comment number 4 under general. Thank you.
I guess I have some reservations about the recommendation in that there's already a crossing that, if, Craig, is it possible for you to pull up the first page of the site plan? All right, so if you zoom in on the upper left-hand corner of the building. There we go. Okay. This might be the older, this looks like an older version, or actually that's page 2. I'll just describe to you what we're proposing there we go. That's better. So we're proposing curb ramp upgrades at each of the 2 corners of Getter Street. And you can see the 2 there, crossing to the south and crossing to the west from the southwest corner of the building. And then on the north end, there is really a very difficult grade at that corner right up against the building. So we are proposing to do the best. I think it will become an ADA compliant ramp. That's the intent. That's my preliminary assessment. There's going to be some doing. It's going to take some doing. But then that would proceed to follow the existing crosswalk to the north side of Raspberry, and that where there is a curb ramp, and then to the west side of Getter, where there's also a curb ramp at the corner of the parking garage. Now, if I'm reading Lanta's comment correctly, it's indicating that it would like a crosswalk across Getter Street from the south side of Raspberry. So that would be where we put that new curb ramp. They want another parallel crossing there, which I don't think really makes, it's unconventional, let's put it that way, in the sense that 2 mid-block parallel crosswalks within 30 feet of each other. I get what they're getting at. I understand that the bus depot is on, I think, both sides of Raspberry Street. It just doesn't seem to quite fit. So we do have some questions about that, whether that's even the right thing to do. And
So I would assume that is also a take under consideration, not a must-have.
yeah.
It's a recommendation, and if Basil wants to weigh in on this from a public works perspective.
The existing crosswalk is good. There's no need to parallel crosswalk in that area.
Perfect.
As long as it's crossing Getter.
There's the view of Getter
Yes.
that we're talking about with Raspberry and the
Where are we here?
As long as they upgrade that curb ramp on Raspberry and Getter to allow to cross the other side.
There's Raspberry.
Then we're good on public works side.
So the one on the frontage of the subject property, you're talking about the corner at the
Right
pro.
here on Raspberry, the way you had it on your plan,
Yes,
it's okay. It's
that's fine.
acceptable.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is what we discussed. Let's iron it
Not,
out.
not clear. So it's, okay, so Lanta recommends upgrading the crosswalk and curb ramps, so I assume existing, with a new detectable warning surface for a formerly public right-of-way compliant crosswalk at the southern corner of Raspberry and Getter Streets intersection. So that's the southern corner, but that's not existing. That's the problem.
Correct. They're talking about a second crosswalk.
Sorry to
There.
interrupt you.
Sorry,
I
go
don't think they're talking about the second crosswalk, but right now, can you move up one step, or I can move up here? All right, this is an ADA, existing ADA ramp, but it's
Mhm.
not up to the standard. So Lanta is asking to upgrade this ADA ramps
Mhm.
to the standard,
Just with the detectable warning surface.
just with the detectable warning surface.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not, I doubt that the Lanta is asking for it. Their bus stop is right here.
Right.
It's on the other corner, so they don't want people to cross right here. There's no bus stop on this end currently, as we don't see the sign.
Hmm.
Just upgrading this ramp to cross to here, and then from this side across from Getter. That's good enough.
We're fine with that.
Yeah, we're
That's
fine with
already
it.
on
Yeah.
the plan. Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess just they interpreted Lanta's request
Right.
wrong.
Okay, so just as
I take exception.
the general guidance, right? Unless the saldo specifically requires the developer to do something, we can't compel it to do something. It can agree as kind of a courtesy or because they think it's the best practice, and they can be bound by that if they agree to it. So, but I think by now people know how much I love the applicant shall work with the city after approval to achieve some ill-defined goal. So if the idea here is that we're going to have the detectable warning surface on that crosswalk there along Raspberry Street, that's great. If that's what you're agreeing to, okay.
Yes. That's already on the
And
plan.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
And this is required by SALDA. This is required for engineering when you do a upgrade of any building or any development of any building. You have to upgrade or install sidewalk, including ADA curb ramps, meeting today's current standards, which detectable service is current standard. So they have to do it. They shall do it.
Thank you, Mr. Yanna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Scamilio?
Yeah, Mr. Desser, I'm looking at the plans right here in front of Mr. Horvath, and that detectable area is noted on their plan.
Mr. Malozzi, anything else?
No, sir.
Anyone else from the Planning Commission have any questions or comments at this time? Well, certainly it's a large undertaking, big project for our downtown in an area that more and more improvements are occurring, especially on that Broad Street corridor, and this would meld with the current building you have in the Boyd. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to continue to have dialogue, not only with the city, but with Dr. Clem and hopes that we can get something like that squared away. So there's no other questions or comments. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion.
Ms. Cohen, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the land development plan submitted for 4652 West Broad Street, contingent upon compliance with the City of Bethlehem letter dated December 4th, 2025, except for general number 2 site landscaping per the old saldo, where the new saldo provides an exception for the central business district, and consideration for the client or the applicant complying with or considering some of the elements listed in the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission letter of September 25th and the EAC letter of November 3rd.
Motion made, Ms. Cohen. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Burgos. Roll, please.
Mr. Pankratz.
Yes.
Mr. Burgos. Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi.
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Best of luck moving forward with that. Thanks. Thank you. Our final agenda item is a sketch plan review.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. No worries.
Lehigh University, University Drive, Mountain Drive in the south. We'll give you a minute or so to get started. And when you're ready, you can introduce yourself and begin.
Very good.
Yeah.
Driving range simulator.
Educated on birds now.
I'm Kate Durso from Fitzpatrick Lenz and Buba here on
Good to
behalf
see you
of
again, Mr. So thanks for
see you
coming.
as well.
Joe Klosik. I'm the Director of Planning, Design, and Construction at Lehigh University. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Serpico. I'm with Pannoni Associates, civil engineer for the project.
Thank you.
I must say I'm now more educated on the birds, which I didn't know much about at all. So that was fascinating. Tom,
And how to pronounce obscurely named city streets.
yeah,
That's right.
that
Ken.
too. In fact, I didn't know he was saying it wrong because I didn't know what he was saying.
You've been here more than once. Keep coming. You'll learn more and
Yes,
more.
I'm
every
telling
time.
you. I'm telling you. So Tom's going to introduce the project. Obviously, it's for Lehigh University, and it's a dormitory residential halls. So go ahead, Tom.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We're here today to discuss the East Hill Residence Halls project on Lehigh University's campus. Lehigh University is looking to construct a brand new dormitory to accommodate their increased enrollment on their in their university. So the project is located right at the corner of the intersection of University Drive, Taylor Street, and Quad Drive on the Asa Packer campus. Lehigh is looking to propose a 23,394 square foot dormitory. There's planning on having 375 beds across 245 units within the dormitory. In addition to the dormitory, they are proposing to do some improvements on University Drive from the area of Taylor Street all the way up to the intersection of Sayre Drive at the intersection that's further to the west. And then as well as putting a sidewalk down University Drive heading down towards Broadhead Avenue. So basically we're handling the project in essentially two parts as one whole project. So the University Drive aspect is going to eventually become a two-way in the area in between Taylor Street and Sayre Drive. The dormitory is going to be in location at the corner, as you can see on the screen here, in between Drinker House and the McClintock Marshall House. Overall, from an engineering standpoint, there's going to be public and water and sewer that's currently on site that we're going to connect into. Stormwater management for the entire site is going to be taken care of through an underground basin and a spray irrigation system. And that is the general overview for the project. If there's anything that you'd like to discuss, we're here to discuss for the sketch plan. And if anything that Joe Klochik would like to add, please take it away.
Yeah, I mean, Tom did a good job at describing where we're at with this. This project is intrinsic to needs that we see forthcoming because our enrollment numbers are going up. We actually have a shortage of rooms on campus at the moment. So relative to a dorm facility, this one is important. What's interesting is we are planning this to be freshmen only. So as we get to traffic discussions, freshmen are not allowed to have cars on campus. So there is much less need for that, and other uses are sort of absorbed by what we have in our traffic master study relative to both Mountaintop and Goodman and how we distribute cars amongst campus. The University Drive component is interesting in that it is an initiative that was started previously when we did the Singleton Hitch and Maida development dorm complex on the west side of our campus in this same plane. At that time, we had started the University Drive component. COVID changed some plans relative to development across campus. The intent being ultimately that creating this two-way, essentially loop road on campus allows us to remove the traffic from inner campus, which has been an initiative that's been in the works for the better part of 2 decades now at Lehigh, to try and remove cars and conflicts with cars from the interior of campus and push it to the outskirts. By creating a two-way loop, we are able to fix a lot of the problems that we have along this pathway, which are primarily related to the lack of sidewalks and good crosswalks and points where students can safely traverse from what is really our residential mountain to the south down to the campus to the north. So we see this as a good impetus between these two projects to complete a lot of initiatives that were started a long time ago. Relative to the dorm complex, the site that we are situating this on is a mountain. It is very steep, so there are very significant challenges, which you'll see in the plans and some of the discussion that we'll have, and then Tom will get into as well. Because of its steepness, we are looking at this as what we would call 4 individual wings, but 1 complete building. So these are not individual buildings in and of themselves. It is 1 complete building, fully connected on every floor to every floor, with the exception of the upper and the lowest ends, depending on the slope on the site. And it steps up the mountain. So we are not excavating a great deal. We do have to excavate quite a bit, but not as intensively as you would imagine. And that is in part of this design is to create a series of stepped buildings up the mountain. It also gives us an opportunity to use the building as an accessible route for students and folks on campus that potentially need that type of help to get up the mountain by using elevators in the building to do so, which we do across a lot of our campus simply because of the topography. It is a solution that sort of presents itself relative to ADA and accessibility throughout. Maybe get into some questions. One other thing, this is a site that actually had a building, not that it matters, but it had a building on it in the 1920s. This was originally a fraternity, so this was a building site long ago before a lot of the development happened in the 50s, which is interesting. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And just for anyone here, we appreciate you coming in for a sketch plan review. This is kind of how we would prefer it to be done. We're not, obviously approving anything tonight, but we're providing you feedback that'll be important for as you do move forward with the project. So we appreciate you coming in.
Craig, can you bring up the renderings too? Because the renderings will give you a sense too of what they're talking about being built in the mountain.
Yep, and relative scale to the neighboring buildings. The other thing we don't necessarily want to do is we're not trying to create a complex that is so large that it overshadows what's happening on the mountain, both from below and from the perspective of what's happening in neighborhood itself. Again, you can see how the different, I'll call them pods, sort of step up the hill, but are also interconnected. I will also get to this discussion, I'm sure, of the fire department. We've had some robust discussions with the fire department about how access to this building will happen. It is definitely challenging, but we're working with Craig to try and figure out the best ways to approach that. It is definitely a little different than what a normal flat site in the city would present, but it is also in line in many ways with a lot of the other challenges we have at our other buildings. So
I noticed the exterior finish is all basically stone facade, a mix of
so a bit of a mix.
Patios, etc.
Yep. So we're thinking a stone, I'll call it water table. So a baseline, and then stone that matches a lot of the other buildings on campus and the things that surround this. We're actually thinking about the facade treatment a little differently, and we're noting it as stone. We're thinking about it as actually slate, almost as though it's a slate shingle application. So a panelized construction with slate shingle application. Like all developers, Lehigh has some challenges with costs, so we're trying to find new ways to build a building that is probably more robust than a normal developer style building, but at the same time, how can we do it a little more efficiently, and make it fit the environment that it's in? So.
Mr. Pfeiffer, anything from the December 5th letter that you want to highlight, point out for?
Certainly. So this is a sketch plan submission. However, it does qualify as a site plan as well under section 132203. The only comments we had on this from a general planning perspective is two items. One is we recommend that these retaining walls don't exceed 5 feet, and they are either terraced to achieve the step effect that is required, or they could use a single vegetated crib wall that could exceed that 5 feet in height. And the second, and again, it always makes me happy when applicants read our letters first and they already respond before we can even have the conversation here with you. They've already provided a wonderful rendered perspective that I think really tells the story of how this building will fit within the site. Going over some of the comments, I'll try to keep these brief. And miscellaneous engineering is looking for a complete erosion and sedimentation control plan, and they're looking for the NPDES permit. These are all requirements. I'm sure the engineer is well versed in all of this. The forestry comment, as well as picked up in the zoning comments, is that we're looking for an inventory of the site. It's basically an existing conditions plan where they map out the slopes, map out whatever tree canopies to be removed, and put that in a chart for our review. Going down to the fire comments, I know you have been working extensively with, I like to call him the other Craig. So that's our fire marshal. But he did indicate things like turning plans and indicating that both University Drive and Dravo Drive will be considered fire department access roads. The zoning officer, to his defense, did not have the benefit of knowing that you have already prepared a university's master parking and transportation plan, nor did he know, or nor did I know, that this was going to be limited to only freshmen and therefore no cars would be permitted. So what we've just talked about here, I think adequately addresses that comment. So there's no need to provide anything else. The comment number 3 has already been stated. I was unaware that University Drive is a private road. I thought that was still part of the public right-of-way. I couldn't find any definitive in our maps, but certainly you indicate private. I'm sure Mr. Yandem would concur. And so we don't have to worry about setbacks. We do always consider green options. This is a big part of our climate action plan and our new subdivision land development, where we encourage things such as pervious pavers, rain gardens, and the use of native plant species to promote pollinators, and referencing also grass roofs. We showed a picture not too long ago of the nearby Singleton Hitch Maida building that does include a green roof. And that is our comments under sketch plan.
Yeah.
So just so we're clear, Craig, so you're saying we don't need to worry about the height and the setbacks, so we don't
Correct.
need any zoning relief for that? Okay.
Correct.
Perfect.
No, and I will add, we've done our best, even though we don't need the relief, to comply with the intent of the code relative to that. So it's very close as we can get it relative to the site.
Sure. And understand the comments that the city provides. It appears you guys are pretty much on the ball with what's coming forward anyway. The one thing I will ask, you mentioned it's freshman dorms. That's something that you plan on keeping. Not that years from now it changes, then we have some issues when it comes to.
Yeah, so the intent is to be freshmen, potentially some sophomore, depending on how the numbers work out. And really the layout of the dorms dictates that it needs to be that. What you'd see if you saw the plan layouts is that, I'll call it it's a runway scheme. It's essentially singles and doubles without integral restrooms. They're not what I would call a unit that has its own bathroom or its kitchen. So our upperclassmen are more used to that. Our freshmen are more used to essentially coming into a hall environment where there's community central bathrooms. And that's what all of these floors and all of these plans are.
And your intent is anyone that does live there
Right.
can drive anyway, right?
Correct. So even relative to the layout, we would never be able to get upperclassmen to live in these buildings. So it is sort of not officially written into
Right,
the
understood.
idea.
Yep.
But relative to the plan, that's what.
And that's something
Yeah.
I asked Attorney Deshler, is that something we need to like memorialize? And it's just a sketch plan
Right.
review. So it's,
Just for also additional context relative to the tree requirement, we didn't have a chance to send you the information. We did a survey of the site. We have all that information relative to the amount of trees we're removing and returning. We're actually putting back more trees than we're removing from the site. So I think that'll be acceptable to the forester. And we have a history of, if we need to, planting even more on our acreage across the campus to meet that goal. That's something we're really invested in as one of the only tree campus USAs in the country. So
there you go.
And we will likely need to go to the zoning hearing board for a variance related to the terrace, similar to that we had to do for the other project, if you remember, Craig.
You will not.
We don't need it at all.
Well,
it is encouraged that you do that, but you're not considered you're not considered natural steep slopes anymore because the campus goes up above the site. Roads have already been carved in. I believe there's a path, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, that already traverses the site.
There
So
is.
it's going to be considered man-made slope.
Oh, okay.
That provision only is when you have natural steep slopes, but we apply it universally. It goes from a shall statement to a should statement.
Great.
What's the should?
So
You should use terraced walls that don't exceed 5 feet in height or a vegetated crib wall that does, but you are not required.
But there's not like a should in terms of going to the zoning hearing board. They don't have to do that.
That's what we just talked about.
Well, okay.
Do you want them, Attorney Deshler, to go to the zoning?
It's the technical. I know what he's talking about. I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great.
Attorney Deshler always keeping us on our toes. That's good man.
also get on the bird conversation. We have a few buildings with bird glass, actually. So
You do?
we do.
I did not know that.
Not entire buildings, but
Okay.
sections of
And
buildings.
Wait, so there are other buildings?
Well, I was Muhlenberg apparently was the first. We're not gonna let it be known on the record. Lehigh also has
I
a
won't get into
few.
debate with our friends at Muhlenberg.
As the son, grandson, and brother of Lehigh grad, like I feel like you got to step up.
I heard Lafayette has one too.
Oh, gee.
Oh, no.
We don't want to go there. We don't. They lost. Any questions, comments by any planning commission members at this time? Ms. Cohen.
Thank you. I do have, I guess, one question or concern. There's very limited parking proposed along Draveau.
Draveau Drive.
Draveau.
Sorry,
Draveau Drive, yes.
Draveau.
Another
and,
road that we have to make sure we pronounce it the right way.
And is there any loading area for garbage or deliveries or
Ye-
student move-in?
Move-in
Yes.
day, right?
Craig, do you mind pulling up the site plans and then we can kind of discuss that?
Always a
So if we go to
exciting time. Move-in
I
day.
happen to have a little zoomed in version, it would be CS003. It'd be three to the this is the overall. If you want to go 3 pages into the plan set, if you happen to have those, that'd be great. So you can kind of see a zoomed in version of the dormitory site. So to answer your question, yes, there is a loading area on the I guess I want to say northwest side of the site, right where, so if you want to zoom into the northwest side of the site, right in there is a loading area where deliveries and service vehicles can park to have access to the building, which also has access to a transformer and a generator. And there's also an access way right there. That cross-hatched area is kind of a walking path or an egress path coming out of the building, which is something that can be utilized to get in and out of the building. So there is an area for kind of drop-off, loading areas, service vehicles, and then if you look to the 3 spaces, the parallel spaces on University Drive
To the left, yeah.
to the right of that, those are denoted as service spaces. So any sort of maintenance that the
Right
university
there?
personnel,
Right.
any sort of service that the university personnel would need to administer in the building, they could potentially park in those spaces, go into the building, utilize what they need to do, and then they won't really be impeding any sort of traffic. They won't be parking on University Drive. They're kind of out of the way, and they can access any sort of utility rooms and things that they need to do there.
And I'll add relative to the trash question. All of our dorms, we don't have dumpsters at our dorms. There are no trash trucks making pickups at dorms. We actually remove the trash on a daily basis using what I'd call a stake body truck from trash rooms inside. So in this particular case, it would be on that lower service level of the building at that area, and they would remove it in the mornings and take it to our facilities at Mount Up.
So these 3 spaces, loading spaces, those are new then?
Correct.
But are they also going to then serve the residence hall that's shown to the left?
So in terms of parking for the residence hall, so currently on University Drive, there's a smattering of spaces that are going, kind of head and pull in spaces diagonally because it's one way in that area. So as part of this project and making the road 2 ways, we're proposing to alleviate and remove a lot of that parking and replace it with parallel spaces. So there is going to be a net reduction in parking spaces in this general area, but it's still in compliance with Lehigh University's overall parking management plan. And part of that, with being primarily a freshman dorm, they're not really going to have cars on campus, and there's going to be a bus service that can go up to the Mountaintop campus where there's a commuter parking lot. So part of their initiative to move towards removing traffic from the internals of campus, that's removing the parking as well, so that there's less cars overall and make it more pedestrian friendly area. So with that, there is going to be a significant reduction of parking spaces, but I think that complies with their overall parking plan.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Any other comments, Cindy?
No additional comments.
Anyone
Thank you.
here tonight have any input, questions, comments for the sketch plan review?
Just want to make it abundantly clear. So based on what you're seeing in the sketch plan review, you don't think that there's any reason for us to go to any sort of zoning variance hearing for either the wall heights or for the building height or setback?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Glad we clarified that. Really appreciate you coming in, and hopefully this was helpful. Obviously, anything that you're prepared, you have everything ready to go, and Lehigh being a strong component of our city, we appreciate all the work you've been doing. So thank you. Thanks for coming in.
I appreciate that. And we always appreciate the cooperation we get from the city and the help in doing these things. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yep. Mr. Pfeiffer, general discussion items, upcoming agenda items.
Yeah, so in your packet is a list updated to tonight. And I just point out the ones that will be coming up in January. We'll be hearing from 6268 West Union Boulevard. In fact, the engineer just handed me the second set of plans tonight. So we should have another review letter out, and that should be on our January agenda. Possibly on our January agenda would be Steel Ice at 320 East First. That went through sketch plan review, came back with a very clean letter. The engineer has done some significant work to really make that a clean letter. Those comments were due today, so that's not going to allow us to oh, I'm sorry, that allows us enough time so that we could probably get that review letter done and issued in time for the January meeting. The last one, the Township Line Road, formerly known as Gold Tract, now Autumn Estates, also was before you earlier. They've made a resubmission. Those comments aren't due until right before Christmas, and that's just not going to allow us enough time to do a review, even if the engineer covered all the items that were in the previous letter.
Where is that one again?
Where's it? That's the one all the way out. Hang on. You mean the location of it?
Yeah.
Township Line Road near the railroad tracks and the.
Altona.
Right here.
So under the uncontrolled railroad crossing.
Yep.
Right.
And they're scroll down, keep going the other way. Right in there. That whole lot now, and that part of that is in the township, and a portion of it, 20% of it or something was in the city, correct?
About 1/3. The line's right about there.
And you said they came back with a new plan? Is that what you said?
They've made a submission for us, and the comments aren't due until the 23rd of December.
Interesting.
And so by the time we get the review letter back out, it's not going to allow us enough time to put them in on the January, but their expiration isn't until March. So they'll most likely be on your February agenda.
Anything else?
Nothing. Thank you.
Motion adjourn, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thanks for coming. See you next month. End it.